Hello, welcome back to Two Chapters a Day with the Eye of the World. Today I read chapters 25 and 26, and whoa, a lot happens in these two chapters. So, just a quick recap of the last chapters. In the last chapters, Perrin and Egwene met Elias the Wolf Man, and then Mat and Rand and Tom are on a boat. And importantly, I think it's revealed that Mat stole a dagger from Erthold. So that's a quick recap of the last two chapters. These two chapters, we start off with Perrin and Egwene, and now Elias, the wolf man. And we get a lot of like kind of inner monologue from Perrin, and we learn that he is no longer having dreams of the Dark One, but now they've been replaced by dreams of wolves. So, don't know how that's going to play out. And they happen upon this like itinerant band of travelers called Tinkers, and they decide to stay with them. And it's very clear that Elias knows these people, but it's not revealed how. And I think that there's definitely a lot more to him than meets the eye. So while they're there with the Tinkers, they learn about this band of like warrior women who were in the waste and they were killed. And also there were, I was unclear, were there Trollocs that killed them or did they kill the Trollocs? I'm not sure, but there were also dead Trollocs as well, which seemed to be significant because Trollocs don't usually go in this area of this world. So only one of these women survived, and she made it back to a band of Tinkers. And pretty much with her last breath, she was like prophesizing. And what she said was, Leaf Blighter means to blind the eye of the world, Lost One. He means to slay the great serpent. Warn the people, Lost One. Sightburner comes. Tell them to stand ready for he who comes with the dawn. Tell them. And then she died. So, not really sure what this means, but it does seem important. And I would say that that's probably the most important thing that happened in this chapter. Also, there's kind of like this weird little side thing going on in the chapter with Egwene and a character named Aram, who I think he's going to end up becoming part of the ensemble of characters, but we'll see. So then we get to chapter 26 called Whitebridge. And boy, a lot happens in this chapter. So we start with Mat and Perrin and Tom on the boat, and they dock, um, and they get off the boat, and there's been a disagreement that I didn't talk about in the last couple of videos with a member of the crew on the boat, Gelb, who it just was real antagonistic towards our three friends. So the captain dismisses him and he grumbles off into Whitebridge. Then Tom, Mat, and Rand also go off into Whitebridge. They are thinking that maybe they can find some information about the rest of the group. So they go to this inn and they meet the innkeeper, and pretty much the innkeeper like dumps all of this information onto us very quickly. So first of all, we learn that Loghain, the false dragon that we heard about a few chapters ago, has been captured and brought down by the Aes Sedai, and they are currently parading him through the country, kind of, I guess, showing off that he's no longer at large. So, in just a few short days, he'll be coming through Camelin, which is, also where uh, Egwene and Perrin are headed. So, will they meet up? Won't they meet up? I don't know. We'll see. So, in the midst of this conversation, they are talking to the innkeeper, and he, once they start asking about their friends, have you seen people looking like this? He becomes very suspicious and totally not friendly anymore. So he tells them that a few days prior, there had been a madman that had come to town, like ranting and raving and looking for people who fit the descriptions that they had just given. And everyone sort of ignored him, I think, the madman. But then the next day, a very like creepy person came, hooded, dark, um, and this was a Fade, and he was asking about the same people. And still, I mean, they hadn't been through here, so there was nothing to reveal. But now the thing is that if Fade comes back, then, the innkeeper could easily be like, well, I haven't seen these folks, but I've seen these people who are looking for those people. So they, Tom really says, okay, we need to get out of here like ASAP. So they disguise themselves, they leave, and they're making their way out of town when they're attacked by a Fade. And I think Tom dies. It's not concrete. We don't see him die, but we kind of hear it. So I feel bad because, I've been very distrustful of Tom. One of my things this whole time is like, why is Tom still traveling with them? Like, yeah, I get it. He's a Gleeman. He's like collecting the story, I guess, but it just always seemed a little suspicious to me. But then he tells Rand and Mat about his nephew who got into some sort of trouble with the Aes Sedai. And so I think maybe he was just trying to atone for the guilt he felt when he didn't help his nephew, and maybe he was thinking it would make up if he could help these young men. So that's the story, at least. But if he's dead, then his last thing was to save like Mat and Rand, because he distracts the Fade while he's telling them to run. And so he tells them to run and to go to the Queen's Blessing, which is an inn in Camelin. So that's where the chapter ends. And then the other like important thing I think that happened in this little section is that Mat seems to be getting really aggressive. At the beginning of the book, he's kind of lighthearted and mischievous and easy to laugh, quick to laugh. But now he's just really, I don't know, just does not seem like the same Mat that we knew at the beginning. And so, I had already noticed that kind of on my own, but then someone also told me to pay attention to Mat and kind of how he's changing. And I think, definitely is changing. And it kind of reminds me of how someone who is like wearing a Horcrux in Harry Potter acts. Um, it's just like this dark cloud is kind of settling over him. So I think that's related to the dagger. In the chapter, they're talking, Rand and Mat are talking, and Mat's like, oh, I'm tired of running. I'm scared. I'm homesick, all these different things. But I think it's the dagger. So that was chapter 25 and 26. And like I said, a lot happened. And so this is not really a complaint, it's just an observation, I guess. The last 2, 3 chapters, I was kind of like, well, I feel like not a lot's happening. Not a lot's happening. And then all of a sudden, like, wham, a lot happened at once. And so I'm wondering if it's going to follow kind of that pattern throughout of just kind of like plodding along and then wham, plodding along and then wham, which I don't mind. But there's definitely a difference in like chapter length. um, so I don't know. I guess I wish it was maybe more evenly distributed, the action. Or so tomorrow I will be back with chapters 27 and 28. And until then, if you're reading along, happy reading and thanks for watching.